In the headlines, Kaduna residents raise alarm over invasion of community by fleeing bandits. Atiku in court as tribunal rules on motion seeking live broadcast of proceedings. Federal Executive Council approves additional 129 billion naira for Ogoni cleanup. And on the foreign scene, at least 16 people killed in multiple landslides in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Hello and welcome to News Update on Trust TV. I'm Sagir Ibrahim. Now the news in detail. Residents of Kaduna villages have raised the alarm that bandits fleeing military operations in Zamfara state are escaping to their areas to seek refuge in nearby forests. Villagers in remote communities along the Zamfara-Kaduna border towns have reported the sighting of the bandits. A resident, Said Damari, said that the bandits had been arriving at the nearby Kuduru forest since Tuesday. Another resident, known as Shagari, said the bandits operating around the town have threatened to abduct any farmer found working in the farm. The police public relations officer in the state, DSP Mohammed Jalige, said the command would protect the lives and property of the villagers. He added that the fleeing bandits would not be allowed to terrorize the villagers. Daily Trust reporter in Kaduna, Mohammed Yaba, gives an update on the situation.
Residents of Kaduna villages have raised the alarm that bandits fleeing from military operations in Zamfara state are escaping to their areas to seek refuge in nearby forests. The villagers in remote communities along Zamfara-Kaduna border towns are reported to have sighted the bandits who they said arrived the area yesterday. And they also claimed that the bandits, the well-armed bandits, arrived the community on their motorcycles, which made some of the villagers to run for their lives, thinking that the bandits were there to attack them. But fortunately, the bandits decided not to attack them, but rather move into the nearby forest that is named Kuduru forest. That surround the area. Some of the villagers spoke with confirmed that they were all afraid seeing the bandits in their communities, and they also urged the security agencies and the state government to come to their rescue, because presently that most of these bandits threaten to abduct people and also they are trying to kind of deny them access to their farms. But the state police public relations officer Mohammed Jalegi, when contacted, confirmed that the state government and the security agencies are doing everything possible to ensure that nothing happened to these villagers.
Thanks for that update. Moving on, Anambra State Police Command has confirmed the death of a leader of a criminal gang, one Odumodu, who operates from Imo State into Anambra State, suspected to be members of Proscribed Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, and Eastern Security Network, ESN. He was killed on Wednesday alongside 4 gang members terrorized in Anambra State and Imo State by joint security forces in a village, Akwaihedi, Nnewi South, a border town between Imo and Anambra State. According to the Anambra State Commissioner of Police, CP Echeng, security operatives accosted the deadly gang of 5 operating on motorbikes, suspected to be members of Proscribed Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, and Eastern Security Network, ESN, who were en route to Anambra for a planned operation. According to him, the operatives engaged the assailants, neutralized 5 of the gang members, and recovered 2 rocket launchers, 4 AK-47 rifles, 1 automatic pump action, 4 magazines, 8 live ammunition, police beret, charms, and other incriminating items. Also, it is 50 years since the creation of the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, in May 1973. The scheme was introduced by the then military head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, to foster unity and national integration after the Civil War in 1967. In the spirit of the NYSC's Golden Jubilee, Ibrahim Ismail meets former corps members who settled in Gombe State after the 1-year mandatory service. Take a look.
This is we that won State Honors Award.
Wow.
Aderinto Babajide is a graduate of Arts and Communication from Yaba College of Technology, Lagos. He was deployed to Gombe for the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) in 1999, just 3 years after the state was created. After completing his service, Babajide was offered an automatic employment by the Gombe State government in the Ministry of Information. For the past 24 years, the 50-year-old has been running art and photography business in Gombe, a place he calls home.
It's good to thank Gombe too, because they accommodate us, they treat us like their own, they show love, and the magnitude of appreciation, at least for staying back, is enormous.
Sharing his experience with Trust TV on the occasion of the NYSC's Golden Jubilee, the Lagos-born artist said the Corps had changed his life for the better, stressing that it has been a driver for national integration.
And that's why you see that after the camp, many didn't grow from camp to be part of the society. But for some that listen attentively, you find out that integration is very easy. By and large, NYSC is a good scheme that needs to be maintained. At least for one thing, this unity, NYSC is promoting it better. Because I'm a Yoruba man, I marry an Igbo, staying in Hausa land. It's just a work of NYSC.
Just like Babajide, Bidia Yaro Dawakin Tofa is an ex-corps member from Kano State who was deployed to Gombe in 2017 for the national service. Since then, he has been working as a radio presenter.
I'm now working in Gombe, and this is all because of NYSC scheme. I'm opportune to be one of the NYSC members who immediately after their service, they got job, and recently, as you can see, my life has changed.
While reflecting on his service year in the NYSC 24 years ago, Babajide said there is indiscipline among the current corps members.
The corps doesn't see the NYSC staffs as their masters. It's not regimented any longer because the freedom is just too much. My only advice for the incoming corps members is be meek. It's not about your certificate. It's about what you got to offer.
For these two ex-corps members who found solace in the state after their service year, there is no better place to be than Gombe, a home away from home. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
The People's Democratic Party (PDP) presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar is present in court as the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal is expected to hear his application for live coverage of proceedings. Atiku had on May 8 filed an application for an order to allow the live coverage of the daily court proceedings on the case they brought against the President-elect Bola Tinubu, which started on Monday. Arriving at the Court of Appeal Abuja, the venue for the tribunal sitting on Thursday, the former Vice President is accompanied by the former Governor of Cross River State, Liel Imoke, a former Governor of Adamawa State, Boni Haruna, a former Governor of Niger State, Babangida Aliyu, and former PDP National Chairman Uche Secondus, among other dignitaries. Also present at the pre-hearing is the party's governorship candidate in Kogi State, Senator Dino Melaye. Also, the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal has adjourned hearing on the Labour Party suit challenging the election of the President-elect Bola Tinubu to May 17th. The adjournment followed the unanimous agreement of the Council to the petitioners and the first, second and third respondents for the hearing to be adjourned till the 17th in order for the lawyers to agree on documents that will be tendered to aid easy hearing. Neil Sampson has more.
Present at the court was the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, who is the first petitioner, and Labour Party represented by Obiora Ifo, the National Publicity Secretary of the party, as the second petitioner. However, counsel to the petitioners and the first, second, and third respondent unanimously agreed to adjourn the hearing to Wednesday next week.
Counsel to the petitioners, counsel to the respondents, all agreed that instead of having this matter adjourned to tomorrow, Friday, come back adjourn, the best thing is for us to file all the motions all the motions, all the applications, serve parties, and then come back Wednesday next week, the 17th. We are asking that the Honorable Court should allow live streaming and broadcasting of the proceedings of the court from day to day, whenever the court is sitting. Because it was something introduced by the colonial masters, but they have moved on, and we are still in the ancient age. So we feel that we should depart from that and adopt modernity, because some African countries are now live streaming their proceedings. I don't see why Nigeria shouldn't. So that was why we filed this application, so that it would be just a matter of you hanging out here. You can come in if the court allows it, if the court grants it. And if some of you, as much as the court can accommodate, will come in with your cameras and be filming the proceedings in real time.
Meanwhile, earlier in the morning, a group of young Nigerians gathered close to the appeal court where the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal hearing is holding to show support for the judges involved and to start against those trying to intimidate them.
I'm happy that they have all come to the court. The roads are free. But if we see anybody on the road trying to intimidate judges, we'll confront them. It's our country.
Nigerians are hopeful that the outcome of the court proceedings will reflect the will of the people as represented in the February 25th ballot. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The Federal Executive Council, FEC, has approved the sum of 129.8 billion naira for various projects in the Niger Delta Ministry, especially for the Ogoni Cleanup Project. The Senior Special Assistant to the President, Garba Shehu, said this after the FEC meeting chaired by the Vice President, Yemi Oshibajo, on Wednesday. According to him, the money will be used for the second phase of the Ogoni Water Project and the central remediation of newly identified hydrocarbon-impacted sites. The Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, assured Nigerians that ongoing projects in the country would not be abandoned by the incoming administration of Bola Tinubu. Also, the Nigerian Immigration Service and a firm contracted by the federal government for the production of Nigerian passports, Iris Smart Technologies Limited, has blamed the Central Bank of Nigeria's foreign exchange policy for the scarcity of booklets. They made the allegation when they both appeared before the House Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating the proposed domestication and processing of Nigerian international passports. The firm also accused the Nigeria Security Printing and Minting Company PLC of sabotaging its efforts after failing to secure the contract for the production of the passports.
Since 2015, thousands of Nigerians in the diaspora and at home have applied for, paid for, and have been captured, but are yet to be issued their international passport booklets. The House is concerned that Nigeria does not produce its own passports, despite owning a minting and printing company. The firm contracted by the federal government for the production of Nigerian passports told the ad hoc committee that prior to their engagement by the federal government, the country had a shabby passport administration.
The government discarded those booklets because they were substandard and didn't meet ICAO standards, and then decided to have an international tender for the production and embedding of chips. 5 companies were invited. 3 foreign companies, Security and Printing, and ourselves to submit bids. When the bids were analyzed, Security and Printing company bids were found to be technically incompetent. They were the most expensive.
The ad hoc committee also grilled the Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Idris Jere, at its investigative hearing. Idris said the NIS does not have access to the forex it generates and attributed the shortage of booklets to the unavailability of foreign exchange from the CBN to aid production outside the country. The NIS boss also decried the absence of a producing factory in Nigeria, noting that the travel document is produced abroad.
3. Scarce foreign exchange. Due to dwindling government foreign revenue earnings, mainly because of continued fall in value of Naira, coupled with the inability of service to access dollar component from the contract agreements. The committee may wish to know that all our foreign revenue earnings that comes in dollar components goes direct to JP Morgan account. We don't access it. We sell passport outside, we don't get cover. So the local revenue we utilize to fund the foreign operations.
The ad hoc committee is expected to meet with the CBN on issues raised as more Nigerians continue to apply for their passports, despite the fact that they may not get it anytime soon.
The federal government has received another set of 148 Nigerians that were stranded in Niamey, Niger Republic at the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport in Kano State. The returnees arrived aboard a Sky Mali airline operated by Ethiopian Airlines on Wednesday afternoon. Receiving the returnees, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, said they were brought back under the care of the International Organization for Migration, IOM, from Niamey through a voluntary repatriation program. The coordinator of NEMA Kano Territorial Office, Nuruddin Abdullahi, said the program was meant for the distressed who had left the country to seek greener pastures in various European countries and could not afford to return when their journey became frustrated. The returnees from Lagos, Kano, Katsina, Jigawa and Kaduna State, among others, comprised of 94 males, 25 females and 29 children. The coordinator noted that the returnees would undergo a 3-day training on how to achieve self-sustainability and provided with seed capital to enable them to engage in productive ventures to be self-reliant. You're watching News Update on Trust TV. Still to come, we take a look at how tradition withstands modern innovations. This and more after the break. Welcome back. You're watching News Update on Trust TV. Now a look at our major stories. Kaduna residents raise alarm over invasion of community by fleeing bandits. And Atiku in court as tribunal rules on motion seeking live broadcast of proceedings. Moving on, there was pandemonium in Owo, Ondo State on Wednesday as 3 people were killed in a renewed clash between members of the Aye and Eye courts. Residents stayed indoors to avoid being caught in the court war. A resident said members of the court groups were moving to different areas of the town, killing their targets and taking their corpses away. Another resident, identified as Adelaide, revealed that there had been sporadic shootings in some areas of Owo since Tuesday, with some residents living in fear. The police public relations officer in Ondo State, Fumilayo Dunlami Omishaya, confirmed the court clash. She said men of the anti-cultism unit had already been deployed in the city to restore order and fish out the perpetrators. The commandant of the Amotekun Corps in Ondo State, Adetunji Adeleye, who also confirmed the incident, said the situation had been brought under control. Now, before the advent of modern orthopedic care, traditional bone setters were relied upon to remedy fracture or dislocation in most cities in northern Nigeria. Now, despite the revolution in modern medicine, the practice is still as effective and reliable as it used to be, but not without some challenges. In this special report, Trust TV's correspondent Idris Jibrin examines the practice of traditional bone setting in Kano State. Take a look.
The practice of joint manipulation and treating fractures date back to ancient times and has roots in most countries. These early bone setters would treat fractures with wooden splints wrapped in bandages or made a cast around the injury out of a plaster-like mixture. Over the years, this practice has proven to be effective and reliable in the treatment of bone-related injuries. I have treated over 1,000 people, and I have reset the bones of over 1,000 people. You see, there are different types of fractures, but for us here, when you come with fracture with bones outside, it doesn't scare us. Dantala Ahmad in Kano has been in this practice for over 70 years. He inherited the practice from his parent and is now passing same to his children.
All these are my children, and we are over 20 in this house. And believe me, there is no fracture that scares us. Everybody in this house can reset your bone. And whenever you bring it here, we will do our best to make sure that your leg or your hand or whatever, any part of your body that got dislocation, we reset it.
Traditional bone setting is a type of a folk medicine in which these practitioners are engaged in joint manipulation. Before the advent of modern medicine, these bone setters were the main providers of this type of treatment. They practice without any formal training in accepted modern medicine procedures. They also reduce joint dislocations and reset bone fractures.
You see, I don't have any formal education, but there are so many hospitals in this Kano that do ask me to go to their hospital and be practicing. But I refuse. I told them my father asked me to practice at home, because if I go to the hospital, somebody that's supposed to give me 5,000 naira, the hospital authorities will ask that person to pay 100,000. Since when I was a kid, if they bring somebody with dislocation or fractures, our parent will ask us to watch and see how they are doing it. And gradually, we equally learned how to do it. And today, that is our main source of income.
Although the practice of traditional bone setting still exists among communities in northern Nigeria, but these people say the lack of attention by government authorities is threatening their age-long tradition, which would have otherwise reduced pressure on the overcrowded modern healthcare institutions.
You see, I do admit people here. Sometimes we keep people here. People will stay here for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, up to a year. When they recover, they will go home. But the problem is that we don't have enough facilities to be admitting people here.
As old as this practice, to date, people still troop into traditional bone setters for treatment and often regard it as the most reliable and less cost-effective compared to the modern orthopedic care. Idris Jubrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
Also, local farmers in Bauchi State have decried the activities of communities responsible for the sale and distribution of seasonal fertilizer and appealed to the state government to review its distribution strategy to ensure food security in the state and nation as a whole. They made the appeal in Azare during the flag-off of the annual 2023 farming season. Sales of fertilizer at affordable price by the state governor. Adumima completes the report.
The state government has started the sale of fertilizer NPK at subsidized rate of 15,000 naira per bag to farmers as against the production cost of 17,800 naira. But some scale farmers in Azare Katagum local government area of the state are not comfortable with the activities of middlemen known as committee members whose activities they say are worrisome. They appeal to the state government to sell the commodity directly to the farmers. The price of fertilizer we experienced last year is not something to write home about. The sale and distribution. Also, somebody like me cannot afford to do farming, except if there is change and the commodity is made available to us. Government usually makes a lot of promises that the fertilizer will be available. We will, however, be shortchanged. Even with our money, we hardly get it. We always add something on top of government-approved price. So now we are praying for the governor to have a rethink on this matter. It is difficult to get the fertilizer most of the time. It could be recalled in the past. The sale of commodity is just like free of charge during Yuguda administration. And now, based on what we observe, this government can change this for the betterment of small-scale farmers in the state. However, the state governor, Bala Mohammed, during the launching, said his administration is making effort to diversify the economy of the state to ensure food security and ensure that the agricultural sector will continue to receive the priority it deserves. He also cautioned against planting in flood-prone areas to avoid falling victims of flooding in this year's farming season. Highlights of the occasion was the display of improved seeds and seedlings, as well as distribution of farm tools to teeming farmers across the state. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
On the foreign scene, 10 people were killed in a landslide in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo's Lubero territory in North Kivu province overnight on Wednesday. Local authorities have said Lubero's military administrator, Alain Kiweba, said a recent downpour loosened the earth and on a hillside above a village in the Vuvei Lac area, burying the victims as they slept in their houses below. He said rescue efforts are underway to get them out. Meanwhile, Communication Minister Patrick Muyaya said at least 6 people died in a landslide in the Sogambele mine near the town of Rubaya in North Kivu province's Masisi area. Nearly 100 mine diggers were stuck in the rubble. President Felix Tshisekedi declared on Monday a day of national mourning to mark the disaster. As of Wednesday morning, the death toll was 426, with approximately 1,000 people still missing, according to Desire Yuma Machumi, head of the South Kivu Red Cross. And in sport, Burkina Faso forward Ousmane Camara has been suspended for the side's quarter-final fixture against Golden Eaglets of Nigeria. Camara was booked twice in the group stage and will sit out the last 8 fixture built for the Nelson Mandela Stadium, Algiers. The striker is the main star in the Burkinabe side. The youngster was top scorer at the Wafu B Under-17 Championship hosted by Ghana last year. He was also named the most valuable player, MVP, at the competition. The winners of the West African Derby will join Senegal and Morocco in the semi-finals, as well as the 2023 FIFA Under-17 World Cup. With that, we've come to the end of Trust News Update at this hour. Do well to follow us across all our media platforms. I'm Sagir Ibrahim. Thanks for watching.